SOSIN. Not an acronym of anything, it's my name. I'm here to teach anthropology. Before we start talking about what and how, etc. of this subject, am I audible, sir, to the last? How many of us have actually decided to go with this I know you? Do I know you? No. Sometimes faces are so very familiar. It's that the 7 faces, similar faces are created. How many of you are Telugu? Oh, good numbers. Because I love to talk and spend time in Telugu in the class. So, I mean, it's not that we are going to teach in Telugu, but that homely feeling. Huh? So, going back to that first question, how many of us have decided to go with anthropology? I thought I'll find the same response as I found for Telugu. Okay. Is it that any skepticism there? I mean, what are the things that are going in your mind about coming to a conclusion, to take the subject, not to take the subject? I have to tell you, my agenda is not to convince you about anthropology. That's not the case at all. I was told that this is a bunch of people who would want to know what will be going on in our class and what exactly the subject deals with. And this is what was supposed to be the agenda of my class. Nevertheless, as a part of, as I go talking about the subject, etc., maybe I can answer some of the things that are going on in your mind. Any particular questions that you have? Quickly. Or should I go with whatever that I have come in mind with? తర్వాత మీకు అర్థమైంది మీకు చేసుకోండి, అర్థం కాకపోతే ఎవడు చేసేది ఏం లేదు. How far it is? और बताइए. Any more questions? जी सर. Okay. और बताएं. Once again, ma'am. So if you are not from a life sciences background, what? और बताएं.
If student is from mathematics background, she already can.
Okay. और बताएं. Ma'am. Okay. And what's that? See, generally when I walk into the class to talk to a new crowd, we have 20 odd general questions that we prepare for. Most of the questions that we see in the class more or less fit into the same format, and most of them are linked to these. As things go on during the course of our talk, several of these doubts will be clarified. And if at all anything that is not clarified, you'll anyway have time to catch up with. But do not have a doubt in the mind. When you have come to listen to a speaker, try to have some kind of trust in the speaker. Listen to things with an open mind. See, you are mature enough, I'm sure all of you are adults, you are mature enough to take decisions, to come to a conclusion about what can be believed, what shall not be believed, etc. And I have already told you my mission is never to convince that, see, hail anthropology kind of a thing. It's never that. It somehow happened that I became an anthropology teacher. And some of the questions maybe you would be happy to know, or maybe it might ignite some kind of a thought process in you when I'm saying this. Maybe I would want to give a bit of introduction about myself, because that looks to be a very small introduction. So I'll give a slightly bigger introduction, not that I'm reading out my autobiography to you. That will eventually be doing in the classes anyway. I will not be teaching any anthropology, I'll be teaching only my own autobiography. But then, say I myself was a civil engineering graduate from Osmania University. And I had worked on site for some time. And then parallelly, I was also doing my human resource management. Then from the beginning, I had this passion for newspaper reading and writing. So I had done my journalism. I worked in the media for some time. I was with short film making, basically documentary making with channels like BBC and Nat Geo. So I was a screenplay writer there. So that's how, I have a lot of love for the cinema. Cinema is my life, actually. I can say that with a lot of passion, especially the Telugu cinema. I promote Telugu cinema a lot in my classes. I have seen people converting to being a Telugu from other languages after having heard my lecture, so kind of. And then, of course, I was doing a part-time job of preparing for UPSC also. No, some of us do that. No, UPSC is a national hobby. For some people, that becomes a full-time occupation. For some, it remains a hobby. In spite of being a hobby, I was called for the interview on a couple of occasions. Then they said, you can better be a teacher. And I said, very fine. I called off my last attempt. And in the meantime, because I was born and brought up in the tribal environment, I was rather influenced by anthropological thinking and studies, etc. So somehow, apart from teaching a lot of other general studies things, anthro also was one of the areas. So in the meantime, either say, I started catching up with so many courses with anthropology, researches, field works, etc., etc. So one fine day I realized that, okay, I became an anthropologist. That's how things are. That is briefly about myself. Sir, first and foremost question that I wanted to answer is, because our background is something else, do we fit into this subject of anthropology? How many of you are engineers here? More than 100% are engineers. Rest of them? Commerce. Anybody from medical sciences, dental sciences, that science, this science? Not many. Or BSc kind of a thing, BSc in physics, chemistry, biology, good numbers there. Anybody who studied economics, commerce, okay, good numbers. So you have a good mix, but a lot of you are engineers. So when I am teaching the subject, my focus will be mostly on the people who have come from this particular background. So I'm answering those areas. Somebody who hadn't done anything from the life sciences, how to do with them. You are going to be our basic pivotal points. I'll have to hold you tight on those issues. I'll make it a point at this stage that said this particular discipline of anthropology was contributed by people from different walks of life, different backgrounds. You cannot see people who are the original, real anthropologists. I mean, original in the sense who must have studied anthropology in their undergraduation, graduation, PhD, etc., and then became writers, contributors to anthropology. There are a very few people. You can count them on your fingers. You will be surprised to see, if at all you have one fine day decided that, okay, I will take up anthropology as my subject, and you end up studying the subject accidentally. You will find that there are people from mathematics, people from physics, people from life sciences, people from geography, people from political science, sociology, medical science, whatnot. Historians, etc., etc. I mean, whatever list of optionals minus the literature subjects in your UPSC, all of them are there in anthropology. In fact, there are people who are linguists who became anthropologists later. Or for that matter, keeping this topic aside, whether my background would suit taking anthropology or not, keeping this question aside, if at all we go back to our primary exercise of choosing the optional subject, most of the subjects you are not familiar with. Telugulo annattu ఏ రాయి అయితేనే it has to be a better rai so that it works well. Rai is stone. You will have to find some good stone with better cutting edges so that it would do the duty of chopping very well. So you are actually trying to select one from the unknown devils. Because the known angel engineering, you have already left it in your college. I don't know whether how much we were serious enough with our own subject. If that would have been a stronger subject for us, maybe we would not have thought of anything else. We would have been in still love with that same subject. But once you have chosen, once you have opted out of your own academic discipline, you are actually trying to do with several unknown things. This is one unknown thing. Let me continue with, so one question I try to answer is irrespective of your background. You can go for it because several people with their own understanding of society and life, etc., they have come, they spoke something. Interestingly, anybody can become an anthropologist. Or polishing that statement, amending that statement, anybody who failed in life can be an anthropologist. Or maybe anybody who was disowned by their own discipline can become an anthropologist. So don't worry. It's like neglected stone would become the cornerstone. So you can be rest assured. Don't worry on those lines. Basically, when it is said that there's a beautiful picture of myself, people said so. So those are the three questions. Hanji sir. I'm actually unaware of this musical chair. कौन सा बंद करें क्या होगा? Oh, thank you so much. Many people are struck at this. Very less do not want to focus on this. Why anthropology? But my focus in the classes will be what and how of anthropology. Why you will have to decide. When it comes to why, there are a few things that are popularly said. Somebody was asking this. When you try to choose this particular subject, you did not choose it because you have some kind of a love or relation of the previous janma with the subject. You won't be choosing it for that. Or maybe because your father was an anthropologist, so you have chosen this. I am really not sure of it. But then there are other reasons also. People say maybe it is predictable. You can take about 50, 100 questions in your hand, memorize it, like the same kind of your intermediate exam, the same Rutherford experiment. You started with the first unit test to the last exam, the same thing you are going on, writing and writing. Even if you forget, your pen and hand won't forget, they are doing their own duty. You are not doing it, but they are writing. It's something like that. So, like 50, 75, 100 questions you are holding in hand and then memorize, you go and vomit in the exam. That's it, kind of. And so I would start actually with this. See, when it comes to social sciences, I strongly believe that anthropology is a social science. When we say science, that has to be a discipline that is objective. When I call it social science, a social discipline, a sociological discipline that has a scientific temper, meaning that when I am saying that this discipline is objective, it is not subjective, meaning that for any question there has to be only one answer. There should not be more than one. How many gods are there? In your belief, how many gods are there? మీ పేరమ్మా తెలుసా నాకు మీరు తెలుసు కదా ఎందుకు ఇట్లా ఫెమిలియర్గా కనబడుతున్నాయి మీ ట్విన్ బ్రదర్స్ ట్విన్ సిస్టర్స్ సంబడి ఐ మీన్ మీరిద్దరూ ఏదో అంటే ఇంతకుముందు ఎగ్జామ్ లేదా ఓకే అంటే అది సీక్రెట్ కదా మెల్లగా మాట్లాడాలి గప్చుప్గా. So my question, how many gods are there? One. This is an objective reality for your own self. When I am saying that how many gods are there, based on what faith that you have, you are coming to a conclusion that see I have one god or I might be having 30 crore gods, whatever. There cannot be two answers for that. It is not a question like how many wives you have. I mean, one could be something to show, जैसा कि हाथी के दांत होते जो दिखाने के लिए और खाने के अलग अलग. There, it may be a subjective one. When I say that the subject is objective, it is not subjective. What I mean is, for any question, there has to be only one answer. Maybe at one point of time, there could be a big argument at that point of time there might be several opinions, but more or less the entire subject presents you with one kind of orientation and one single stand that you will have to take without naming the other social sciences. Generally in social sciences what happens is opinions may vary. In a situation, what has to be the stand that you will have to take within the discipline itself? There can be arguments and confusions. Different thinkers, different people try to take different kinds of stands in a particular situation. But in the subject of anthropology, what happens is they respect the opinions of several people, but the subject itself says this has to be the stand. In that sense, if you know what is the subject asking you to take, in one simple statement, I mean, even without attending the entire subject, you can get it in your spirit. That is, the subject believes in supporting or taking a stand for the downtrodden, the suppressed, and the oppressed. In any situation, if you have to take a stand, you will have to second, you will have to support the one that is oppressed and suppressed. So whatever policy decision you take, administrative stand that you will have to take from the perspective of anthropology, it is respect the fellow who is getting oppressed. So this is the spirit of the subject. Now at this point of time, I would want to reach out to another question. Somebody was asking this, how far it is useful for general studies. So personally, when you are choosing an optional subject, you are attempting it for 500 marks. I do not advise you to take a stand take a decision based on how many marks are covered in this from the optional subject. I don't think that has to be because every discipline for that matter has something of it. So geography has something, other subjects have something, history has something. So every social science for that matter has something to contribute to general studies. So I don't think that should be the basis. Nevertheless, there are several places where the concepts that are mentioned, the syllabus that is mentioned in anthropology are duplicated in general studies. But I don't want to get into that particular line. I would want to stick to telling you what exactly the subject stands for. Basically, you can go and see in the syllabus, social problems of India, or problems of tribal populations, problems of lower caste, problems of women. Pick up anybody who is in the problem, that becomes a subject matter here. And every one of us have problems. So every one of us are a subject matter in anthropology. So there's a lot of scope there. Entire general studies actually is covered in anthropology. I have said something. My focus here right now is on something like scoring because many people have been interested in knowing this. These are some of the very interesting numbers that we have got in the very recent exam. So what we generally focus at is that for your preparation. We try to target it to 290 for 500 marks. Actually speaking, it is believed in the exam that if you are getting about 50% of the marks, that's a decent one. But looking at the way scores have been improving, we have to scale up your target to 290. Over and above that, how much ever you'd want to take. This I wanted to show because several of us would finally take a decision based on how many marks the examiner might give. And one other student the other day was asking, this year last year marks have been high. How many more years do you think anthropology will continue to get more marks? I am not a Nostradamus to say that. And one student comes up and says that the 3 years my preparation was one and the same, but the first 2 years I was getting very low scores, but this year I got such a huge score. What do you think must have happened? I was telling him, when God is giving you fruit, accept it. Why do you want to question? Why are you giving me this? When you are getting, you have a problem. When you are not getting, you have a problem. At least somewhere you should feel that, okay, I don't have a problem. You are giving fine. Whatever may be the reason you are giving me, I should be happy. But then he says, no, this year I'll have to write, I'll have to repeat. I said, repeat whatever you have done in the previous year. What you have done. See, there are certain basic rules that you will have to follow for the exam. So slowly, one after the other, we'll be unfolding those rules to you. If you are playing the game based on those rules, I'm sure if not that year, next year, you would be better equipped to play with those rules and you'll be able to get better scores there. Now, I would want to look at some of the questions here. Some people have some more things in mind, which I thought you would come up with, you did not come up with. So is it visible, set to the last? Even if it is not visible, doesn't matter. If at all you would want to base your decision based on small syllabus, I'm so sorry. This is relatively an exhaustive syllabus, but interestingly, the questions do not appear from outside what is explained in the syllabus. The examiner tried to give many more details in the syllabus. So it takes time for the examiner to cover every small thing that is given in the syllabus itself. So if you are able to meet out to each and every topic that is mentioned in the syllabus, interestingly, I don't know whether you were following the previous question papers. Did any of us look at the syllabus and question papers of the subject? Some of you must. I won't ask any questions, but generally, did you see the syllabus? Yes. And old question papers? Doesn't matter. देखना ही है future में, but there was a time when 60 markers were there. A couple of years ago, when the paper was for 600 marks put together, 300 each, examiner was very happy giving you a 60-mark question. There were papers where we could see the paper was set with single word questions. A single word de diya, you are supposed to write 60 marks. With due respects, it shows the laziness of the examiner also. But then, don't get me wrong on that. But now things have changed. After 500 marks, putting together both the papers and 250 each, a lot of experimentation is happening. There are questions for 25 marks, 20, 15, 12 and a half, and 10. I am also looking for 5-mark questions. So when this is happening, when he's trying to ask questions from 10 marks also, he looks at the possibility of asking small things from the syllabus. But thankfully, the syllabus is extensively described in the document, so that you are supposed to fix yourself to the syllabus, and based on that, there's one more problem there. Many people have this fancy, because many of us have come from engineering background. We say that, see, we can't memorize facts, but we can analyze things. That is one very popular statement I have heard from many students. But you'll have to remember that without facts, you cannot come with any analysis. Unfortunately, there are going to be many facts that you will have to remember, but facts backed by understanding. This, of course, there's a lot of diversity in the syllabus, so that if at all you are getting bored at one point, you can jump to the other one. So diversity is there. Diversity, but with connections. You can bring it down to proper limited notes. Do it, revise it again and again, like how you chant the mantras of the Vedas. You go on doing the same Gayatri mantra every day, same Hanuman Chalisa every day. You become a master in that. I at times get amazed looking at the people who have cleared the exam, say 7-8 years ago. But still, when I ask the question, when I ask a definition, they stand up to rattle them. So it looks very interesting, because they haven't done anything of anthropology in the last 7 or 8 years after getting into service. But then, when we are asking them to answer a question, they are readily giving the answer. Like, you have learnt alphabets long time back in your childhood, still you are able to do that. Now, that is the power of memorizing. I'm not promoting memorizing here, but many times memorizing helps you write answers better. You can actually retrieve the things from the memory to suit the requirement of the question. When I was saying a little while ago that maybe 7,500 questions you are going up with preparation, and then you are trying to write it in the exam. See, let me say this. Many times the question may not come in the same format. Information is there with you, but you will have to modify the information that you have memorized to suit the question. That's where the skill comes. Because some time back the question was asked by a student, when each one of us are listening to the same lectures and we are reading the same material, why is it that somebody is at 290, somebody is at 320? It is all because how you are actually playing with the rules. Your answer shall not be like chinnappudu chadukunnam aavu kada ani. Aavu kada? Aavu is cow. Story of cow. You know the story of cow? Cow has 4 legs. It has 1 tail and it gives milk. It has 2 ears. It gives milk, and with the milk we produce these, etc. But the same question will not come in the exam. In the exam, the question may be write about the helicopter. I love flying in the helicopter. I sat on it one day, and then we were flying. I have seen lush green lawns on the floor, on the earth, and there were so many cows grazing there. Cow has 4 legs and it gives milk. And most of our answers are this in the exam. Whatever may be the question, I have prepared in this particular way. I know this. I want to write this. So you will have to modify the same content to suit the requirement. So feel free, whether you take up anthro or not, that is not my business. Basically, sir, I come from an entertainment industry. Wherever I go, I want to entertain the crowd. During the course also, generally, our classes go on for about 2.5 to 3 hours, but this particular course is a hectic course, because I'll have to send the students also to the main exam, whoever are appearing at the preliminary. So this course is going to be quite hectic, 3 hours every day. Very difficult to sit for 3 hours in the class, looking at the same teacher for 3 months or 4 months. And then it's going to be a very, very tough task. But then because I have that kind of a background of entertaining people, we try to bring a mix of it. Sometimes we show the movies, sometimes we sing songs, really. And then sometimes we discuss the subject. We do all kinds of things so that my primary intention is a student shall not sleep in the class. Whether you would finally get through the exam or not, that's the byproduct of all this entertainment and all this effort to keep you alive and not asleep in the class. But finally that might happen. See, basically it's something like this. I strongly believe that unless and until you enjoy what you're doing, you would finally will not be able to get the result. After having enjoyed, if you are not getting the result, forget it. But then primarily you should have to relish what you are studying. That's how things are. So basically, sir, many people must be wondering what anthropology is, because from now onwards this is going to be a haunting question for you. If at all you have decided to zero it on anthropology, and people would start asking you, because by now you must have advertised it to the entire world. If not you, your parents must have advertised it to the entire world that, see, my son, my daughter is appearing at the UPSC exam. Now, every second fellow would start asking you, even if he doesn't know about UPSC, he would start asking you what is the optional subject that you have taken. And you'll say, anthropology. What is anthropology? God knows. So there are umpteen number of definitions of anthropology. The functional definition is this. If at all, see, when you're studying a subject, it makes sense only if you are able to apply it to your life. If you're not able to apply it to your life, study of the subject is really not useful, not done. Of course, we are driven to anthropology primarily because there's an organization like UPSC which is conducting a civil services exam. And out of so many subjects, this seemed to be giving a bit of a 10, 20 additional marks, and hence we are driven here. I'll tell you the other goal that I have with the bunch of students that attend the class. From each batch, we have at least a couple of students who say that, okay, let anthropology be my primary discipline. UPSC to banta rahega. UPSC ka result aata rahega. I mean, there are at least two students from the crowd who pick up anthropology as their primary discipline and try to excel in that. वो तो बड़ा ही long term goal हो गया. At a very basic level, this is the subject that helps us understand the others from their perspective. Many times, you must have faced this question in your life and time. Many people must have said to you, or you must have said to many others, or at least one other person, that you don't understand me. How many times you must have faced this question, or you yourself must have said this, that you don't understand me? It's a very difficult task. Because you cannot be in the other's shoes whatever you do. That is the reason why I tell to the people who would want to become teachers in UPSC preparation. In order to be a teacher in UPSC preparation, you should have to understand what the student goes through in the process of writing the exam. The problems that you would be facing. That you can do only when you must have written the exam. See, don't get me wrong when I'm saying this. One of the basic qualifications that I say to become a teacher of UPSC exam is having failed at UPSC. And I have that qualification. I failed in UPSC, so I know what has happened in the UPSC exam. Sir, understanding others is the basic definition of anthropology. There may be several technical definitions. I'm not really bothered about it. Many times this itself is a problem. We don't know what we want in life. We don't know our own selves. We don't know our own culture. Studying our own people, studying our own cultures is anthropology. So basically, if at all academically somebody wants to pick up anthropology as a discipline, they would do that, because anthropology is a discipline that tries to study so many things in the human life, whether it is your own biological evolution, your own social system, political system, name it, it will be there in the document. People must have got the syllabus document. Maybe the office must have given. You can keep going through so that we can navigate through the syllabus for a while and then see what we are going to do in the class. Traditionally, as for any other optional subject, we have 2 papers here, each paper being divided into 2 sections. One section in paper 1 is called General Anthropology, meaning that here generally chapters 1 to 8 we call General Anthropology, and 9 to 12 is the second section there, that is Biological Anthropology. When you're looking at the paper 2, chapters 1 to 5 here and 6 to 9 there. Of course, these days the examiner is trying to ask questions, mixing up the things in the sections, but at least for the preparation, from the preparation point of view, you must know how is the division. And there is one other thing. One very cardinal question people ask: where to start from in the syllabus? Generally, we follow chronological order. Generally, whenever you are trying to explore new disciplines, you would start with chapter 1 and things like that. At least in this particular subject, we don't advise the student to start with the chapter 1. Those of you who have the syllabus document may look at it. The first chapter reads as Meaning and Scope of Anthropology. You can understand the meaning of it and scope of it only after you finish reading the entire subject. And see, the students who must have started with chapter 1, many of them abandoned the subject. Because in the first chapter itself, you seem to be reading so many things that you don't know. But when it comes to the other topics, see, the syllabus can be studied from any other place. It can be started from any other place except chapter 1. That's a big precaution that one has to do, one has to take. Suppose one fine day you decided that, okay, I'll study the subject by myself, where to start from? Maybe you can close your eyes, put finger on one topic and start from there, rather than going chronologically. Nevertheless, I am trying to give a general advice to the students that this would be the best way of doing things. Look at chapter 6 in paper 1. Chapter 6 in paper 1, that is called Anthropological Thought. That may be the first one to start with. Or you can perhaps, did you go there? Chapter 6 in paper 1? Or are we looking for location of anthropology in the booklet itself? You have reached anthropology in the booklet? If you have reached there, chapter 6 in paper 1, anthropological theories, there are a good number of theories there. This is the best way of starting the subject. This is actually the best thing to begin with, because we believe that to study anthropology, you should start thinking like an anthropologist. Somebody had written a book also, Thinking Like an Anthropologist. But other than that, a couple of other things I have written. The second one I wrote was Indian Society. You can look at chapter 3 in paper 2. That is the second best option to begin with. Chapter 3 in paper 2. Indian social system as it is written there. When we start going through the syllabus, discussions, etc., you would be amazed to see this chapter 3 of paper 2. Sometimes there were more than 4 questions, 6 questions from one single chapter. Why I am saying this is, not the entire syllabus has the same importance for the examiner. He can gauge the depth of your knowledge in anthropology, especially from these 2 topics. One is anthropological thought, and the second one is your understanding of Indian society. Just imagine, you have decided not to study chapter 6 paper 1 and chapter 3 paper 2. You need not go to the exam. Studying the rest of anthropology will be of no use. Or maybe I have written the third option there, that is studying social anthropology. That could be social anthropology, because this fascinates people. Once we go into the syllabus right now, we will see that. So some random questions here. Anybody can answer this. Those of you who had seen the syllabus, what was interesting in the syllabus? What struck you? Any particular topic? You looked at one topic, oh, I should do this. Or maybe you found something interesting out there. Evolution of caste, okay. Or what? Biology. What's your background? Okay. But still you are in love with biology. And? Traditional Indian society. Evolution of Indian culture. So maybe rather many people were mostly struck with Indian society. Maybe first time you were getting an opportunity to study what our own society is. We'll see the syllabus. I'll tell you where people generally Sir, one other question, one other thing that I want to bring to your notice here. I have tried to tell you what anthropology is, that is, your effort to understand the other people without going into very technical things there. There is a second thing that anthropology does. Anthropology believes in studying the beginnings of everything. Everything for that matter. Pick up anything, they would want to go to when, where, how it must have begun. Talk about language, they would want to go and see what must have happened there, where it must have happened. Talk about religion, they would want to go into the past. Talk about any economic system, they would want. So this was the very first thing they started doing. That is the reason why it is seen as a discipline that tries to study evolution of anything. So to begin with, anthropology tried to study evolution of any social concept. So whatever topics that are given in your syllabus, one basic approach we follow is we try to go to the origins of every damn thing. And that kind of an approach was started by the colonial fellows. I'll tell you what happened. When the British were spreading their political rule across the world, in the process of visiting or conquering newer territories, they were coming in contact with, they were actually noticing that there were cultures that were not known to them, cultures that can be described as very bizarre cultures, very interesting ones, surprising ones. Occasionally they were shocked looking at that kind of cultural things which were very much new to them. From that curiosity had emerged the zeal to study cultures that became anthropology. I'm not getting into the technical terms there. Two things you bear in mind today. One is that this is a discipline that helps us understand the other fellow. This will be of great use to you in your life. Sir, when you are into a very personal familial relationship, understanding of the other person becomes a big challenge for you. So first thing that you learn from the discipline is trying to make an effort to understand the other person, empathizing, sympathizing with them. Whether you go through the process or not, that's a different issue, but you say that, okay, I'm there with you. That's the best thing that is going to be taught by the discipline. Second thing is how this discipline must have originated. It is actually a discipline that tries to make an effort to know the other cultures, others' belief systems. Sometimes it looks to be very shocking for us that, see, we should have only one wife, whereas the other fellow is having more than one, umpteen number of wives. It's true that I also would want to have many wives, but I cannot have. He is having. In the heart of the hearts, you wish enta baundo. On the other hand, the rule most of the mainstream societies have is a female should have only one husband. Elsewhere, there are females who are having more than one husbands. It looks to be giving an equal opportunity to both the genders. I didn't say anything. Suddenly, if you see, this is only one small example that I'm giving. Sometimes you come across cultural things that are really shocking. Once you are there with the discipline, you will get used to the shocking things. You would not be shocked at looking at the very culturally diverse things. Many times, anthropology discipline seem to be doing studies in social aspects, but as we can see in the syllabus to follow through, I would want to entertain you with some pictures. This is one very interesting subdiscipline of anthropology that is called archaeology. As a part of archaeology, we are going to study various fossils, including the human, non-human, etc. We would try to see whether the fossil that we have found is a human fossil or not. If at all not human, where exactly we fit in. So we are going to deal with this particular topic in a greater detail, that is called archaeological anthropology. So once you start studying this subject, any stone that you see on the road becomes an interesting thing for you to stand there and start examining what the stone might be. Maybe it was something that was used by some man in the previous times, somebody like Homo sapiens ashoknagarensis, because on the road when you found some kind of a stone, maybe man of that time must have used. Sir, by my word here, one other question that would crop up in the future times in the classes, what are the topics that are very scoring for the exam? Sir, if a question is given from archaeology, make sure that you attempt that question. Archaeology being one of the toughest topics in the syllabus, examiner would want to test you there. You will have to be generating an interest in the things that are non-living, non-human. The non-living and non-human things tell the story of the past. This is that discipline that is archaeology. Not much of a difference, actually. Same kind of an expression. It's only that there's a bit of more hair on the body. There's not much of hair there. This is only to entertain you. Who said that only humans have technology? This is a very simple thing that I'm showing. We are going to see in our course, there are anthropologists, of course female anthropologists, who lived among the apes and chimpanzees and gorillas, etc. And that one I really love. Affections are also not simply restricted to humans. I know you would want to go and sleep now, cuddle through and sleep. This is one other thing. This is another interesting study in anthropology. What nationality they could be from, or what racial status? Japanese. Actually, this is a picture from the textbook. Japanese. You see that on the one hand, there's a lady who is very gently handling things, the way they walk, the way they do, with so much of gentleness. On the other hand, you have people who are so very ferocious from the same group. This is one very interesting study that we are going to see in our classes, how the same group can be gentle on the one hand, and it can be so very violent and ferocious. The same thing like aparichitudu. Every one of us is that. Every one of us is that. There is one side that is very gentle. There is the other side that is so very violent. Most of the times we would want to show the other side. We don't do it because of so many other factors. I was also thinking of a proper uniform for the anthropology class. I'll tell you how the uniform has to be. Not this one. I had something in mind, something else in mind, but accidentally this clicking of the button happened at that time. This is not the uniform, of course, but don't get me wrong. But of course, joke baane pelindi anukuntanu. How relaxed the fellow is. There is no stress anywhere. Kind of. Simple societies seem to be having that kind of a life in the yesteryears. Of course, no more now. This is one of the Bushman families. We will be studying several simple societies and how they have been changing. This is one other basic subject matter of anthropology. That is, study of tribals, study of simple societies. But of course, right now it is not restricted to tribals alone. Because of the mainstream, tribals have been facing several problems. That is the reason why. Look at chapter 6, paper 2, if you are carrying the syllabus. In chapter 6, paper 2, there is a big time narration of the problems of tribals. Name the problem, it is there. Poverty, illiteracy, homelessness, health issues, almost the same problems that we have. They also have, but it's only that range is different. So a lot of time we are going to discuss problems, your problems, my problems, our problems, kind of things. This is going to be one other. Keep looking into your syllabus document. We are not trying to talk much about them. It is only to get familiar with how lengthy the syllabus is. Sir, one of the other things that we suggest to the students is, the moment you decide to go with an optional subject, especially subject like this, you first memorize the syllabus. That itself will take a long time. Why I recommend students to memorize the syllabus is, God forbidden, if a question of this kind is asked, write a note on meaning and scope of anthropology. So there are certain questions which you are not supposed to attempt in the exam. This is one such question. Come what may, you will not be able to convince the examiner. But there is no other go. You will have to answer this question. If you memorize the syllabus, you reproduce the syllabus, at least examiner will know that you know the syllabus and you will get some marks. This is nothing but meaning and scope of anthropology. So that's the first chapter. So the first section, we called it general anthropology because that section has got small things about the entire syllabus. So meaning, scope, human evolution, primates, and then various stages of pre-human individual like Neanderthal, Erectus, etc. Basic aspects of cell biology, dating methods, dating meaning chronological dating of the fossils that you have found, and all those cultural ages. Some of them you must have studied in history. Here we'll be doing them in a greater detail. Yeah, there is some red colored one there. This is something that has actually interested people to study anthropology. But these days that the institution of marriage itself is challenged. It is actually on the last leg of its existence. No more entertaining, no more interesting. Even UPSC is not interested in them. So don't spend much time on marriage and the other things that follow suit. These are the others. So name anything about social life you have in your syllabus: economics, political aspects, religion. Many people actually spend their entire preparation time on chapters 2.3, 2.4 and 2.5, as if this is the entire anthropology, but there's much more. Till here till the 8th chapter we call it general anthropology. We will be starting our classes with chapter 6, that is anthropological thought. I'll give you the sequence. So once again, going back, sir. There's a lot in chapter 1 that will take a long time. So first chapter is basically about biological evolution of man and cultural aspects there. Second chapter deals with social institutions. Third deals with economic institution. Fourth one deals with polity. Fifth one deals with religion. Number 6 is theories. 7 has to do with language. 8 is research methods, etc. Till here is your social anthropology. From here we begin with human genetics. So what we generally do is, before somebody goes to this, we will try to build the basics of cell biology. I'll tell you how we do that. So now coming to that particular question of life sciences, etc. So there are many topics that are actually named as biological anthropology, but they are not true biology. For example, here, race and racism. We will be studying various racial classifications and how one is different from the other and why one is different from the other. We would be pumping in a lot of classifications of humans across the world and in India specifically. There is nothing like a biology there. Many of these topics have a sociological dimension, but then because there seems to be something related to biology, they try to put in biological anthropology. Or for that matter, if I'm going further. But then here you see 9.1 to 9.4, they look to be truly biological. 9.1 to 9.4, they look to be very truly biological. But then you see, whenever you are answering questions, examiner is not looking for that kind of very in-depth biological concepts in you, but he is looking for what is the anthropological work done in that particular field. For that matter, you have good number of chromosomal aberrations here. Examiner will definitely be not happy if you write all the technical things. Say for example, if I ask a medical doctor to answer this question, Down syndrome, he would write a thesis on it. But examiner is not really happy. Examiner is looking for what kind of sociological work was done. If you find times, you try to browse about this organization called Srishti. Many of you must have visited southern India, Munnar, for tourism purposes. You have an organization there called Srishti, which is run by the Tata. This is the organization that had been doing a lot of socio-anthropological work. These are the people who are trying to popularize the problems because of consanguineous marriages. And they have produced a lot of data on in what circumstances the kind of aberrations, chromosomal aberrations that are very much prominent in that area. I'm really sure you would want to visit this center called Srishti. This is the organization that is helping people who are born with chromosomal aberrations because of consanguineous marriages. So this is the organization that trains them, gives them education, gives them skills, and so many things. I mean, people would be really amazed. Somebody who is having the kind of mental illness, but still they are producing stuff that is very difficult for people from normal kinds to produce. See, this is one kind of case study I am trying to present. There are many such kind of case studies, anthropological works, which the examiner would want to see in your answers, not simple biological stuff. So don't fear much. Or for that matter, you have one topic here called ecological anthropology, where we discuss about how humans culturally and biologically are trying to adapt themselves to different extreme climatic conditions. These days it has become a very common thing in the newspapers to see several people from the Telugu region are trying to scale different mountains because of the influence of one single person and the kind of motivation that he has been giving, and trying to train these people to handle the extreme climatic conditions. This is one standalone example to see how people from the tropical regions, hot tropical regions, are able to bear the extreme cold conditions of these mountain peaks. So you can see the papers that were submitted by sir, how they are training, what kind of physical problems, what kind of psychological problems the children are facing while they are preparing themselves to scale these mountains. These are the kind of stuff actually we look for in the script. So if at all you have any doubt that okay, we might be writing exclusively biological stuff, I'm so sorry about it. And here you have something in concept of human growth and development, very entertaining one. You can see your own self growing. You must be maintaining albums in the household. I mean, this is a very big pastime in most of the homes to see right from the day one how you were growing, kind of your own story you'll be writing there. It's only that you still have to reach that senescent stage or maybe the mature stage. But then, the kind of stuff that we look for is, there are anthropologists who try to study how growth patterns are different from one group to the other, one racial stock to the other, one nationality to the other. There was one particular person who studied how Japanese who were growing in their own region were different from Japanese who were growing in America after having migrated there 2 or 3 generations ago. Antegani, how hormones are affecting the growth pattern, how exactly the problems are emerging at the biological front. Of course, you have several chromosomal aberrations that we will be discussing elsewhere, but here the focus is on anthropological studies on, but then there is something else there about demographic theories, etc. This is the crux of biological anthropology, that is application, where except for 2 or 3 topics, rest of them are not truly biological. For example, somewhere there you find forensic anthropology. Of late, forensic studies have gained a lot of importance, especially after the CAD serial. You find one small piece of hair. He will be able to notice that small piece of hair at the crime site, and from this piece of hair, he writes the entire story. But after that, several such, ఆయన ఎవరో నల్లగా ఒక ఆయన వస్తాడు తెలుగు ఛానల్లో ఇలా చూపిస్తూ, ఏం పేరు ఆయన పేరు, ఒక ఆయన ఉంటాడు చూడగానే మనకు భయం వేస్తుంది చూడు. Crime serials, Nutan Prasad voice లో, background voice లో. This has gained importance, and interestingly, of late in India, forensic anthropology is also becoming interesting, important because of the increasing number of cases, forensic based cases. So whatever current related things are there, we would be incorporating there. So nothing biological as such. Maybe that you are studying the footprint, fingerprints, that is one kind of a study in forensics. And then there could be skull studies that you would be doing, dental studies that you will be doing. But when you're doing it, don't put burden on the mind that, okay, I'm studying biological stuff. No. It is all like conditioning your mind. Coming to the second paper, the second paper mostly focuses on Indian variant of what we have studied in the first paper. So what we do is, we don't study the subject dividing into paper 1 or paper 2. You can see that elsewhere we have come across these names in paper 1 also, like prehistory, Neolithic cultures, those cultures, these cultures. So wherever there is a possibility of doing them together, we do the things together. And as you go into the next one there, demographic profile of India. Out of the entire syllabus, if something that is unexplained clearly is this particular topic. From this particular topic, what he is going to ask, that's a big question. Whenever there is very small information given about anything, there is a possibility of asking in-depth questions from there. This is one such thing. And if at all I can answer people who are saying that where exactly general studies is actually covered here, there's a lot of general studies here. In this particular topic, we will be studying almost the entire census document, linking it with tribals, linking it with various caste groups, etc. So it is like the whole lot of census document will be studied here, which I am sure will be helpful to you there. 3, I have already told you, this is Indian society, one of the very interesting topics in your entire syllabus. And sir, I should also say this, irrespective of whether one follows a particular faith, believes in God or not, the syllabus asks you to study about various religions. So you cannot say that, no, I don't believe in God, so I don't want to study these topics. If you say that you don't believe in God, God knows you how to make you believe Him. First attempt, you will not believe Him. He'll make you properly fall in line and take prasadam. This is one other very elaborate topic, Indian village. Very uncomfortable also. 5.1 is a very uncomfortable topic. Rest of the ones are fine, but very diverse kind of questions that are being asked from this particular topic. That requires very in-depth study there. So maybe you can compare these topics with what you have seen in general studies, like linguistic minorities, religious minorities, and then how modernization has an impact, westernization has an impact, etc., etc., and tribal problems, good number of them. As you go forth in the syllabus, you will also see things like constitutional provisions, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, problems of different ethnic groups. As you are going down there, various religions, impact of one religion on the other, and then you have administration of tribal areas, problems of regionalism, communalism, political movements. So they seem to be something that you must have seen in the general studies, and maybe there you can say that, okay, these are called Panchashil of our classes. We are planning to begin our run on 22nd for about 100 days. So somewhere in the mid of October, we'll relieve you. Don't worry. Initially, there will be a discomfort because you are studying a new subject. Any new subject, any new relation is slightly painful. But over a period of time, either you will start enjoying the pain and the relation, or you get addicted to it. Poison is something that you get addicted to it very easily. I consider this subject like a poison. You slowly get addicted to it. I don't mean that every year you come for the course. It's not that way. But then after some time, you would start relishing studying it. So those are the 5 important things. Our class will be a combination of discussions and the dictations that we give. Dictation is a must. You may come up one fine day and say that, ma'am, why don't you give printed stuff? Printed stuff is also there. But dictation is a must because that gives you the required exercise, physical exercise. And that will also prepare you to write faster in the exam. That will be your primary source of study. how many ever materials we pump, the first and the major source that students depend on will be the class notes. And that is also the place where you will have to be extremely selfish also. Especially if your handwriting is beautiful, if you are able to write a beautiful script, you will be on demand among the students. So you will have to save your own self there. And then the other things also. So printed notes is actually given as an addition to what you are going to write in the classroom. Don't think that based only on printed notes I will. Printed notes will be a combination of several articles from the journal, some extracts from the textbooks, etc. It's something like it. And it is not also given in the chronology. It is based on how in many cases we do the syllabus in the class. And of course, if I think that that is not sufficient, I will be giving you several soft copies. So let me say this to you again. Independently, nothing can give you a result. It's a combination of all of them. And also you must remember that 100% of topics cannot be discussed in the class. Certain topics which are self-explanatory, that comes to about 10% of the entire syllabus, will be circulated to you in the form of soft copies on which you will be preparing and submitting assignments. So right from the first week you are going to have assignment works. So it's like this. On the topics where we are not giving you running note, we will be asking you to submit assignments. The more you write, the more is the benefit that you take from there. Apart from the assignments, from the second week onwards, you will be having tests on Sundays. So writing exams is very, very important, right from the beginning. In the beginning, there will be a discomfort in writing. You don't know what to write. And you may have reservations of exhibiting your understanding to the teacher, but don't worry. Between you and me, no secrets. Okay? So you, and see, sir, the same question, if you are writing in the first week, and if you are writing after the third month, there is going to be a C difference there. It doesn't mean that you should start only after 3 months of the course. No, it's not like that. Because I insist that your study should be along with the course. Only then you will know whether you are properly studying or not. But there is one group of students who right from the first day start asking me, when will you finish the syllabus so that I can start studying? I can't help them. These are the 5 principles. And for your information, I may also give this. That is a tentative sequence. We will be starting with anthropological thought, that is chapter 6 in paper 1. Logically, that has to be done along with chapter 8 because research and theory go hand in hand. Archaeology, my own very pet area, though many people do not like, but see, we will have to do the most difficult things first. Generally what we do is simple problems we try to solve first, and the difficult ones we try to push them under the carpet. But we should make them, we should attend them first. And then there are the other things, Indian society. Sir, if you are doing these 4 first, thought, research, archaeology, Indian society, more than 60% of your paper is done. When you are looking at the number of marks that you see in the exam, more than 60% is done. The rest of things are the racial studies in paper 1, those fellows. What happens is I have scheduled paper 2 tribal anthropology, that is chapter 6 to 9 towards the end, because by that time a lot of tribals we already would be covering. So it is like a recap of whatever we have done. Because right from the day 1 we will be studying tribal profiles. Weekends also will be booked for you, not from the first week but second week onwards. You will be having the Saturday and Sunday classes. I am sure most of you will have to attend them because a lot of us are from non-life sciences background, barring those 5-10 people. So if at all you are doing it along with general studies, you should be ready for sleepless nights. The principle is very simple. If you are attending a 3-hour class, any class for that matter, a minimum of 3 hours of back home study has to be done. These days I see students attending classes for more than 10 hours every day, meaning 10 hours back home study has to be there. So a day has to be more than 24 hours. Kindly do this. 3 hours of classroom, meaning 3 hours of back home work. We will also be giving you study planner. Every day after the class, you with your own hands will be filling your own study planner, where you will write whatever topics you have finished in the class, so that by the end of the course you will know that the entire syllabus is covered by the teacher. So responsibility of studying them lies with you back home. Sir, we will be more than generous in helping you, especially if you are doing the tests properly. Tests and assignments are a must. So a final word there, that is going to be our basic focus. We try to build your concepts. So initially when we do the classes, there will be so many. See, as I said to you, we can start the syllabus from anywhere. So when you are starting syllabus from anywhere, we might be getting terms from elsewhere. So we will have to explain those elsewhere terms. So initially there will be a lot of concept building that goes on. But in the process of concept building, we will be discussing so many core issues also. And of course, finally you would want high scores. Notes will be there. Because I believe in academic study, I insist that students read the original books also. But I have limited the list of books that I suggest to the students. Otherwise, what was happening was that your cupboards were getting filled with anthropology for the future generations. Later, you will tell your child, see, so many books I studied, but still, kind of. So I want to limit, because primarily, at the end of the day, the student would base on the class notes that he has written, or maybe some kind of printed note. But then my intention is only that. I'm here so that I get entertained and I entertain you. The result of entertainment may be a UPSC post. If that happens, very much fine. I finished. Thank you so much for being there. And see, you work out on your options. And if at all we meet on 22nd with anthropology as a subject for you, then we'll continue our journey. Otherwise, I wish you all the best and would want to help you somewhere else in the UPSC preparation. Maybe in general studies, maybe somewhere else. Have a good time, sir.